everyone, and welcome back to another video. So if you subscribe to my monthly newsletter, you will have known that for the month of April I read this book called The Heart of the Photograph by David Duchemin, and this is such an amazing book. It's such a good read. I raved about it in my book review, and if you haven't read it already, I really highly recommend that you do because it's such a good book. And today I wanted to chat with you and show you this photography exercise that I started doing like shortly after I started reading this book, because I quickly realized that I really wanted to take this book slow. I really wanted to take the lessons, take the teachings that David's trying to impart in this book and really implement it in my photography in order to improve my photography. So that's what I want to chat with you and show you today. Alright, so in order for this exercise to kind of make any sense, I'm going to give you like a brief overview of what David's book was about. And basically his book was about asking better questions. So venturing away from asking and assessing if a photo is good or bad and asking better questions, because there's like the photographer is good, there's the audience good, and then he breaks down the whole book into these basically chapters of like photography elements. So like subject, contrast, light, point of view, shadows and lines. Like he breaks down basically these photography elements, and he just does this amazing job of taking you through this journey of dissecting what is your subject and then what is the best way to express your subject by giving you things to consider, these photography elements to consider. So he just does this really great job of taking you through this journey. And so that's basically what his book is about, and that kind of like leads into hopefully a better understanding of like how this exercise kind of ties in with the book and how it helped me. Alright, so I have my laptop in front of me, and I'm basically kind of going to switch the point of view here so you can see what's on my screen, because I'm going to show you how this exercise kind of works for me and how I've been doing it. Now, I use a program called Milanote, and I've done a video about it before about how I use Milanote for my photography, but you could honestly do this with any digital note-taking software that you use. You can also do this with like just paper and pen and printing your photos, but I just do it on my laptop because it's a lot easier and faster for me. But I'm going to pop up my laptop screen so you can kind of see the photos and basically what I do and like how I've been trying to kind of improve my photography through kind of David's teaching. Alright, so this is what basically my board looks like, where I kind of store this photography exercise that I've been doing. And so what I do is I'll pull one of the photos that I'm basically assessing, and normally they're always my own photos, but I'll pull the image into my board here. And then I just break it down into like basically 4 questions / prompts. One is sort of the exploration. So basically what I was doing that day, what was the point of the photo shoot, what was just the story behind basically the photo. And then I'll also include a little blurb about what my subject was in the photo, what I was trying to basically express or say about that photo. And then I'll look at and I'll assess what elements in my photo give it its best expression, and what is something that maybe I missed when I was taking the photo that I could do next time or focus on next time. And so it's really simple. I just kind of ask myself and give myself notes on these 4 things, because I know that if I make it too complicated and I make it too standardized with like a checklist of like things that I need to reflect on, it's just going to become too much for me to consistently do, and consistency is kind of like the thing here. And so keeping it simple with just a summary of what was sort of the story behind the photo shoot, the subject, what I was trying to say or express about it, and then what are the elements of the photo that give it its best expression and what it doesn't. And basically the elements that I kind of hit on throughout my assessment is the elements that you find in like the heart of the photograph that he talks about. So I'm just gonna take you through like 2 examples because I don't want this video to be too long. And so I'm gonna give you like a landscape sort of photography example, and then a wildlife bird photography that I've been doing a lot of. Alright, so this is one of the examples that I'll show you, and it's one that I took of at Knox Mountain. And so the exploration story here is that Max and I just decided to do a sunset hike, he was going to do the whole Knox Mountain hike, and I was just going to kind of meander up the mountain as he did that. And so I was meandering up the mountain, and every time there was a good viewpoint of basically Kelowna and the Okanagan Lake in West Kelowna, I stopped to take a photo. And every time I stopped to take a photo, all I could think about and all I could see was basically the bridge that kind of connected Kelowna and West Kelowna to each other. And the only thing that I could think about was, "Ye, I am the one that connects." Because this bridge is a really important bridge between Kelowna and West Kelowna because it connects the two. So there's sort of this importance behind the bridge. And so with it being that, the subject of this photo was actually this bridge that is spanning over the Okanagan Lake and is connecting the two lands, Kelowna and West Kelowna. And basically in this photo, I was trying to express sort of the meaning behind and the importance and power of this bridge. And so when it came to sort of elements that stuck out to me right away of giving my subject its best expression, one of it being sort of the point of view of the focal length that I decided to go with. And so I took a number of photos of basically this exact frame at different focal lengths at different parts of the mountain, and I just ended up really liking this one because I found it was important that you had enough of the land masses to tell the story. So you can see that this is Kelowna, this is West Kelowna if you're familiar with the Okanagan. And so it was really important that you had this amount of land masses in the photo personally to me. And so when I fiddled around with focal length and when I fiddled around with my point of view, I just found that this one just suited it best. And the same thing to go with like the orientation of the photo. I just found when I had taken vertical photos of this versus the horizontal just flowed better. It just spoke better because of the horizontalness of the bridge, the land masses that I'm trying to capture, the mountain horizon. So the horizontal just ended up speaking and flowing better to me. And so that was really like the kind of, I guess, the key element of the photo that really gave it its best expression. And then I also found, you know, the light and the color really just kind of added to the time of day that we were at. It's very golden but still blue, so we were obviously like at sunset. So to give you a second example, not a landscape one, but actually a wildlife one, and I've been doing a ton of bird photography ever since like we've seen like warmer weather here. And so I've just been absolutely loving bird photography. But the other day, again, I always start out with just a summary of the exploration of what I was doing. So the other day I had gone out for a sunrise morning session, which I'm not typically a sunrise person. I'm not a morning person, so I don't do a lot of sunrise sessions, but I've been trying to force myself to do at least one sunrise session a week. So on this morning, I really didn't want to go out, but I wanted to check out. I was kind of debating which location to go to because there was two parks that I was debating between. So I did visit one park that's kind of on the way, but there wasn't much bird activity. So I ended up keep going to a different park, and about an hour into being at that park, the park just exploded with like wildlife activity. Like so many things were happening all at once. It was almost like discombobulating because I didn't know what to take a photo of because so much was happening at the same time. But in this photo, this is my first sighting of goslings in the Okanagan, and I was really hoping for like months now that I would be able to see some goslings because they're so adorable and cute. They're fluffy, they're yellow, they're small. And I was getting really worried that I might not actually see some goslings because Kelowna does have a goose management program. And so I was getting really worried that I might not actually see any goslings. But I went out to the park and I saw goslings and they were so cute. And so I ended up following them as they kind of went up the banks here. And at one point, I think I stopped following them and I was taking photos of some other ducks that were new to the pond. And all of a sudden I could hear that this duck was basically getting really loud and I didn't know what the commotion was about. So I pointed my camera in that direction and I just started taking photos of what the commotion, what was going on. So I just started documenting and capturing basically this whole commotion. And so that's just kind of the story behind it. And so what ended up happening was the subject that I was really trying to focus and take a photo of when I look back at it was this this parent goose that was taking this aggressive stand, because I knew there was something going on to the right of the frame. I knew there was something going on behind the trees, behind the grass, that got the family geese all excited and worked up. And so what this photo, just like I feel perfectly captures, is this one parent goose. It's fluttering its wings, it's taking an aggressive stance, it's protecting the other parent. You've got the goslings in the back. So I was really in this photo trying to kind of capture parent goose defending its family against some sort of unknown threat that's going over on to the right. And so that is basically what I was trying to express and really capture, is just this kind of mystery of what is it that's over there. And so I ended up, this middle one is my favorite of the three that of the multi that I took, and I think it's just because of the setup. So over here on this left one, the setup just isn't quite right. You've got the goslings still on the shore, you've got like the one parent goose that's starting to take its aggressive stance but not really, and then you have, I don't even know what this parent goose is doing. And then in this one, you know, the parent goose has taken its aggressive stance. You've got the mama goose or the papa goose in the back. The goslings are like far away from the threat, and you've got the parents in between the goslings and the threat. And you can actually see in the last photo that I took, in a horizontal orientation, you've got the family in the water, and there's actually two raccoons that were on to the right. And that was what the goose were being all worked up about, is because there was these two raccoons. And so I ended up choosing this middle one because I just personally, I like the mystery of what is causing the commotion. Like, what is it that's behind the trees, that's behind the grass, that's out of the frame, that the family geese are getting all worked up about. And so these two photos, it's kind of like a close like in between of which one is my favorite. I like this last one because you know what the family geese is worked up about, being the raccoons on the right here, but I just like the mystery in the second one. And so I think that is what gives it its best expression, is just the reaction of this goose family, and then the mystery of what it is that it's reacting to. So not necessarily every photo that I take, just like maybe my favorite few or my favorite one from each photography session, I'll just go and I'll look at, you know, what is it that I was doing that day, what is my subject, like what was I trying to express and say about it, and then I just break down and analyze like what about that photo give it its best expression, and what is something that I missed about that photo that could have like just provided more of a punch and really gave it its best expression, because I don't always nail it. And I really find that when I'm doing like landscape or nature photography, dealing with like flowers or plants, like in this one, or when I was chasing arrow leaves, it's a lot easier for me to really kind of be intentional and pause and think about my camera settings and my framing and the elements that are around me and the things that I'm including in the photo. It's a lot easier for me to be intentional and meaningful about that and express it well. It's so much harder when I'm trying to do wildlife, trying to do bird photography, because you're trying to be intentional about all of those things, but you also have to be fast enough to capture the scene and what's going on. And so I'm not that great at it at all quite yet. I still have like a long way to go, but I just hope that, you know, through this exercise, through this micro habit of taking time to reflect after each photography session about what I was actually trying to photograph, what the subject was in these photos, and really analyzing the element of the photo, what gave it its best expression, what was I missing, through compound, through time, my photography will just continue to get better. So that's just kind of the whole point of doing this photography exercise. So far, it's just helped me really be intentional about my photography and what I'm trying to express, and just creating more meaningful photos, because I have read articles, I've watched YouTube videos, I've taken photography online courses, I've done a lot to like add more intentionality and meaning and impact to my photos, but just nothing has resonated me like what I have learned in David's book. So like, if you have not read it, I really highly recommend that you do, because it is absolutely amazing, and it's completely changed how I look at my photography and being more critical about what I'm doing with my photography and why I'm taking the photo and what I'm taking a photo of. just nothing has resonated with me like David's book. All right, so that is everything for today's video. I apologize if I talked really fast during this entire video about this book. Guys, I just love this book so much. So I'm sorry if I talked too fast in today's video. I was very excited about this book, and I was very excited to show you. And I know this exercise might not be for everyone, and I'm not expecting anyone else to honestly do it. I just wanted to share with you how I was trying to implement what I was learning in David's book into my own photography in order to improve my photography, in the hopes that maybe it'll be helpful to someone else. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already, please hit that like button if you liked it and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.